The city of Kafue was known for its deep religious roots, but no church was as powerful as Mount Zion Fire Ministry, led by the enigmatic prophetess Miriam. Her influence stretched beyond the pulpit. She had politicians on speed dial, celebrities as followers, and a congregation willing to empty their pockets at her command. She claimed to hear directly from God, performing miracles that left the crowd in awe. Yet behind the golden altar and designer robes lay a darker truth. It started with whispers, the stories of members who lost everything after being told to sow seeds of faith, rumors of staged miracles, and a growing suspicion that the prophetess was less of a servant of God and more of a master manipulator. But in a city where questioning a spiritual leader was seen as rebellion against God, few dared to speak. Ezekiel had been a journalist for over a decade, but he had never come across a story as dangerous as this one. His sources warned him to stay away, exposing the prophetess meant declaring war against an empire built on faith and fear. But the deeper he dug, the more undeniable the evidence became. A former church administrator secretly handed him documents, bank statements showing millions in offerings disappearing into private accounts, properties registered under fake names, and most disturbingly, a list of people who had mysteriously vanished after questioning the ministry. The deeper Ezekiel looked, the more it became clear Mount Zion Fire Ministry was a well-oiled machine of deception. Brother Michael had been a member of the church for years. He had given all he had, his salary, his savings, even his family's land, because he believed Prophetess Miriam's promise, "Give to God, and He will give back to you 100-fold." But after years of waiting, his situation only worsened. One day, during a deliverance service, Michael's eyes were opened in a way he never expected. The so-called possessed woman who was being exorcised. He recognized her. She was a street beggar he had seen days before. The miracle healings. Carefully staged performances by actors paid to faint and rise at the prophetess's command. While Michael battled his doubts, Mama Beatrice faced an even crueler reality. She had taken a church loan, encouraged by the prophetess, under the promise that God would bless her business. When she failed to repay, church officials seized her property, leaving her homeless. She wept outside the church gates, begging for mercy. The same people who once called her blessed now ignored her as if she didn't exist. But Prophetess Miriam continued to preach inside, claiming disobedience brings poverty. Prophetess Miriam's greatest weapon was fear. Anyone who questioned her was labeled a rebel, cursed with sickness, or mysteriously disappeared. Those who remained loyal were rewarded with fake promotions, prophecies of wealth, and access to the prophetess's inner circle. Ezekiel's investigation soon put a target on his back. A note was slipped under his door one night: "Leave this story alone, or you won't live to see the end." He knew the risk, but the truth had to be exposed. The biggest breakthrough came from Brother Emmanuel, a former church bodyguard. He had once been the prophetess's most trusted enforcer, ensuring that no one challenged her authority. But guilt had begun to eat at him. He finally agreed to meet Ezekiel in secret, his hands shaking as he spoke. "You don't know half of what she's done," he confessed. "The miracles are fake. The money is laundered. And the missing people. Some were silenced forever." He handed over a USB drive containing recordings and photos. "Use this," he said. "Expose her." The day the expose aired, the entire city of Kafue went silent. Ezekiel's report detailed every fraud, every crime, and every victim Prophetess Miriam had deceived. He played secret recordings where she laughed about her congregation's blind devotion, calling them her personal ATM. Shockwaves hit Mount Zion Fire Ministry. Loyalists denied everything, calling it a demonic attack. But some members, finally waking up from the deception, demanded answers. The once glorious church began to crumble. That night, Prophetess Miriam sat in her mansion, contemplating her next move. She had gotten away with so much before, surely, she could escape this too. But when she reached for her phone to call her contacts in high places, none of them answered. The government was freezing her accounts. Her allies were abandoning her. Her mind raced. If she stayed, she would face prison. If she ran, she might never return. The woman who once stood on golden stages, worshipped as a divine messenger, was now just another criminal trying to escape justice. At dawn, the police arrived at her mansion. She was dragged out in handcuffs, her expensive robe dirted as she was shoved into the back of a police van. The same crowd that once worshipped her now watched in silence. Some wept, unable to believe the truth. Others whispered, maybe God is punishing her. The trial was swift. Witness after witness came forward, former pastors, ex-bodyguards, defrauded members. Every secret was laid bare. She was found guilty on all counts: fraud, money laundering, conspiracy. The once mighty prophetess Miriam was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Some of her followers continued to pray for her, believing she was a victim of persecution. Others, realizing they had been deceived, abandoned religion altogether. The Grand Cathedral of Mount Zion Fire Ministry stood empty, a haunting reminder of blind faith gone wrong. Ezekiel, though hailed as a hero, carried a heavy burden. The damage had already been done. Faith, once pure and sacred, had been used as a weapon of greed. And he knew that soon another false prophet would rise, repeating the cycle all over again. Years later, from behind bars, Prophetess Miriam finally admitted her deception. I was never called by God, she confessed in an interview. I was called by greed. She spoke of her regrets, of the lives she ruined, and the emptiness that wealth never filled. I thought I could play God. But I was only fooling myself. The people of Kafue, forever changed by the scandal, demanded more accountability from religious leaders. Laws were introduced to regulate church finances. More people questioned blind faith. Ezekiel, now older and wiser, stood before a university class, teaching young journalists. Powerful men and women will rise again, he said. They will promise miracles, demand your money, and call themselves anointed. He looked at the eager faces before him. But if you ever find yourself questioning them, and truth will always expose the lies. As the class erupted in applause, Ezekiel smiled. The fight against deception would never end. But at least, now, the people were watching.